Hi, welcome to NLP Bites Season 3, which I've entitled In Conversation With. If you haven't been watching or listening to the earlier podcasts, my name is Florence Madden. I'm an NLP trainer and coach based in Cumbria in the north of England. I'm also the author of 2 books, The Intention Impact Conundrum and the co-author of Everyday NLP. In this series of podcasts, I'm talking to people who have, let's say, an interest in NLP, people who've undertaken NLP training for their own purposes, perhaps for work, and also people who are NLP trainers and coaches. And I've been asking everybody the same question. What's the concept in NLP that has been most significant to them? And perhaps more importantly still, how have they been able to use that, or how has that impacted in their life and work? I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined in this podcast by Katie Woods-Ruddick, who's the HR Director of PX Limited in the northeast of England. Katie, I'm sure will say more about introducing herself, but I'm going to start by asking Katie those questions. Katie, what's been the most significant thing to you in NLP, and how has that affected you or impacted on you in your life and work? So over to you, Katie.
Thank you. Hi, Florence. So the area in NLP that had and still does a real impact on me was the concept of cause and effect. And that was definitely the area of NLP that made me recognize that I was onto something with this NLP learning journey, and it was something that really cemented my interest in NLP and was a catalyst to continue learning and doing some work with yourself. And it was recognizing, firstly, which was a bit of a painful journey, which was recognizing that I did spend time in effect, and that can sometimes be quite painful, of recognizing, was guilty of, saying phrases like, they make me, or they have impacted. And cause and effect was for me a really simple concept that highlighted that, but also provided a mechanism that said it doesn't have to be this way. And it means actually it doesn't have to have an impact. They don't have to make you feel or think, you are in control of your destiny.
Yeah.
And I found that just so eye-opening. If I dare say, life-changing. It was just such a really fabulous idea of saying, actually, no, you are in control of your own thoughts and feelings, and recognizing that, yes, people might behave in a particular way. Yes, people might do things that have an impact, but you are very much in control of how you react. And that was just so powerful for me. And I really, found that incredibly useful. It comes with a little bit of a second recognition of, after I got over the dizzy heights of going, oh, I'm back in control and this is fantastic. What comes with cause and effect is for me is consequence. And once you recognize you're in control of what you do and how you react to situations, it's also then recognizing that you own the consequences of that. And if I choose to react to a situation, or if I choose to walk away, or if I choose to have a challenging conversation with somebody because of a situation, I have to own the consequences of that as well. And that was a journey, but again, it was something of really learning that you know, if you want to change something, then own it and do it for yourself.
Yeah, it can be one of those concepts that can sound, well, you know, as you say, you know, you're master of your own destiny, and I suppose those are phrases that we hear. But again, just going back to what you originally said, if we think, okay, well, you know, this person did that, or that group of people did that, and therefore this would happen to me, it might well be factually the case, but it puts us in a very kind of vulnerable position, in a position where we can't do anything about it. So yeah, being at cause is not about saying we're taking any blame for it, and it's not about saying maybe other people's behavior is okay. It's about, I suppose, much more, what can I do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And recognizing that, you know, people have got their own things going on, and people will behave in ways that perhaps we don't like, or you know, we would like to change. But actually really grasping the concept of saying, well, you know, you can suggest somebody changes, but you certainly can't make them. But what you can do is you can change how you react to that situation. You know, you can take it home with you and stew over it for 2 days, or you can choose to reflect and think, could you have done anything different to avoid the situation? And then you can move on from it. And that for me was a really, you know, first step of learning around how NLP could impact on me and my life, and you know, everything else that goes along with it. So a really useful tool, and something that has stayed with me.
Yeah.
Something, and that doesn't mean I'm never in effect, because of course we're all human, but spotting that and bringing yourself back into cause is a really powerful learning for me.
Yeah, I've been saying that in some of the earlier podcasts, and NLP isn't about, well, oh, I know this now and that's everything sorted forever. I think I think it's absolutely what you said. I think it's about realizing where you are, and when you realize where you are, it's a lot easier to get back to a more resourceful place. And something I'm always fond of saying is, it's not that when other people do things that perhaps they shouldn't, or say things that they shouldn't, it's not that that's okay, but it's just, if we wait for other people to change, then you can wait an awful long time. So it's about, I suppose it's just, not just, because it's quite a big thing to do, is to take personal responsibility, as you say, to think, well, what could I do about that, regardless of whose fault it is, which is kind of a bit of a waste of time contemplating that.
Yeah, and that's, you know, the energy that goes into trying to work out why somebody might have behaved in a situation, or you know, what they might need to do to rectify it, is not a great use of energy. Putting your energy into reflecting, you know, what maybe you could have done differently, you know, thinking about, you know, how you might handle a situation again in the future, for me is a real, you know, good use of time and energy. And when you recognize that that's something that's within your gift to do, that to me was just incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it is. It does give you back control, in the sense of you're able to determine much more about the outcome, as I say, rather than waiting for somebody else to do something different, or, as you say, the kind of the wasted time speculating as to why people do things in a particular way. You know, I suppose it's something that it's very easy to fall into, but it's pretty useless.
Yeah. So you know, that was really a first step of something very tangible, practical within NLP that you could put into practice immediately. And that's, apart from you know, what it did for me as an individual, it really, you know, as I said, gave me that interest in NLP that said, you know, I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
This and being able to see the impact of something so quickly. I think sometimes you can have a learning journey, but it takes time for it to get put into practice and you see the results. And for me, it was something that could be used very quickly and see the impact and the outcome of it very quickly.
Yeah, and I guess it's a life thing. It's not just about work, is it? It's a different place that you can put yourself, a different perspective that you can take in whatever circumstance you're in, whether it's in your personal life or in work life. And I do think there's a huge difference between taking responsibility for something and taking blame for something. And rarely about responsibility and not about blame. Maybe there is some things to understand about what you could have done differently. But I say, looking at that from, I say, a view of responsibility rather than of blame, seems to me to be incredibly useful.
Yeah, it's much more helpful. And as I said at the beginning, the first part of cause and effect was recognizing, you know, you're responsible for the way people behave, but then that second part of taking responsibility for, you know, putting yourself at cause and the actions that followed there, that was more challenging.
Yeah.
But again, once you recognize that, it is. And you know, sometimes being at cause means actually I'm going to walk away from this situation, or it doesn't always mean that there has to be action. Sometimes doing nothing is an action.
Yeah.
But making a conscious decision to do that, opposed to not taking action and then spending 3 days, you know, in your head beating yourself up for not taking action is not helpful.
Yeah.
Recognizing that actually that it's just, you know, it's a bit like with the children, you know, pick your battles.
I'm sure some parents watching or listening are probably thinking, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I choose to walk away because it's just not, you know, it's not worth the battle, and recognizing that it's a conscious decision to walk away is you know, you're still in the driving seat.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's regardless of how you got to a situation, it's putting yourself in the driving seat to say, okay, so, and where are we going from here? And yeah, so you're not a hostage to fortune. You're not waiting for somebody else to change or apologize or be different. And that's a very freeing concept. I have to agree with you. It's one I particularly like. It's not always an easy one to take on, because you think, oh, hang on a minute, why is it down to me? Well, that's actually the easier option, for it to be down to you.
Yeah, and that's, you know, when I've shared that with you know, people I've worked with, you know, both in a training capacity and in a work colleague, that's exactly a question I have been asked of, you know, why is it me that has to change? Why can't others? I said, well, yeah, you know, why not? And as you say, waiting for somebody else to change, you could be waiting a long time. It's a much faster process if we look, and looking at, you know, looking at ourselves and recognizing that, you know, sometimes we have created situations isn't always easy. So I get that, but it's certainly a faster way to move forward than it is waiting for someone else.
Yeah. And it strikes me as well in your role, that's something that's pretty important to model as well, because I'm guessing that you have probably a fairly steady supply of people telling you what the problem is or what problem someone has caused. So yeah, it's something that I guess you call on, not just personally but professionally, quite a lot as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. In the next podcast, I'm going to be joined by someone called Maureen Tallis. And Maureen will be talking about something called perceptual positions. So in the meantime, my thanks to Katie for joining me today and sharing that. And if you want to find out more about PX Limited, where Katie is the HR director, maybe gives you something of the flavour of the business, in the paragraph, the blurb that's attached to the podcast, I'll put some information in there about how you can access more information about PX as well. So finally, thank you to Katie. And thank you to those of you that are watching and listening. And I hope you'll join me next week when I'm speaking to Maureen. Bye for now.